Hello everyone and welcome back. We're doing a quick video here about the new unbanning and ban announcements. This is not a reaction video. This is not me saying, wow, how crazy. And anyone who can promise you they know what the meta is going to be is lying. But I did want to talk about each card that was unbanned specifically because that probably has the largest impact. Just real quick, I think Boros Energy will stay a mainstay in the format. Wizards implying that Raptor is what gives it a good start means they haven't played with or against the deck a whole lot because the best starts are Guide and Ocelot in some combination, three of them, into Ajani, into Flage. Not having Ring doesn't mean a whole lot for the deck because other decks also don't have Ring. They will recover a little less well from board wipes, but they still have Flage and Ajani to finish games off, and can play around board wipes pretty well because of how powerful Ocelot is. So I think that deck still exists. More interested in these unbans. I think are going to affect just the meta of the format so much. It's really hard to actually pin down like what are the top decks going to be. So I just want to talk about each card unbanned and some cards that go with it, some strategies that go with it, and what we're likely to see. Faithless Looting is my favorite one that got unbanned. This is because one of my favorite decks of all time is a Hollow One deck. I will likely be trying to make it work with cards like Flameblade Adept. Yeah, I think that Hollow One might not be strong enough for Modern, honestly. I think some of the other strategies might be better, but there might be a Vengevine, Gravecrawler, Hollow One deck that utilizes Flameblade Adept and Faithless Looting. It could still be basically Rakdos. We don't really need the green for Vengevine because we're not really casting it, but it might just not be fast enough or strong enough, right? If the opponent goes Goddess Souls into Ocelot, even though Hollow One is bigger, Ocelot essentially being able to fly over once they get a couple energy from Guide and then gaining life as well as making infinite blockers. It's just like 4/4s might not be good enough in the format anymore. And obviously Gravecrawler not being able to block. Vengevine doesn't have, none of them have trample, right? Flameblade, again, double block with 2 cat tokens, whatever, right? And that's just for example, right? There's also the fact that like we are going to be there's still going to be frog decks out there, and they're going to have 1 mana answers to Vengevine, and Holland's a little harder to answer, but I'm not convinced it's going to be really great. But cards to look at. The Demi-Lich Arc-like Phoenix strategies might pop up again. Thing in the Ice as well. Mutagenic Growths, right? These kind of cards that enable the Art-like Phoenix strategy. I'm not sure, again, that it's strong enough for Modern. Faithless Looting does make it a lot more consistent and fast, though. And it might be. The flying is very relevant on the Arc-like Phoenix, and that's one of the things it has over, say, a Hollow One or Vengevine strategy. Obviously, Faithless Looting, I didn't put a Dredger in here. Enables the Dredgeless Stinkweed, right? Imp. Yeah. Is a big one, the biggest one that they have right now. And I think that that's probably one of the more popular strategies people are going to try is Dredge. I think it probably makes Dredge good enough for Modern. Does it make it tier 1? I don't know. I'm really interested to see the different Goryo's Vengeance lists now. Does it change to Grixis or 4-color? Is it still an Atraxa build with Ephemerate, or do we have maybe a more classic Griselbrand build again? We don't have the Simeon Spirit Guide, so I don't know that we can ever play it the same, but there might be a fast Goryo Vengeance deck that Faithless Looting just gives it so much more consistency. Same to be said of Archon Cruelty and Sarah's Emissary Persist list, right? And Sarah's Emissary, I think, also gets a little stronger now, especially with the Mox Opal unban, right? There's going to be decks where if you name Artifact, might stop them completely, although I don't know if their win cons are usually artifacts. So, something to consider. It doesn't stop them from casting it. Iona stops them from casting it, but Goryo's Vengeance Iona isn't really a combo. But I put Iona in here just to put, like, Faithless Looting might enable some interesting just graveyard strategies that we haven't seen yet because there are newer cards and some more consistency. I think it's more likely to see an Archon Cruelty Persist build or a Goryo's Vengeance list that's probably using Griselbrand and or Atraxa. The Right now, what Faithless Looting I think goes with the easiest in the format is an Unearth build, playing the Oculus and the Frog. I think Grixis will be a very strong color combination for this. I don't know that it needs Faithless Looting, and that I don't think it's worth the splash of red just for looting, but it might be worth it for Bolt and or Terminates, right? Some other red cards that are strong, but I think Dimir Frog is going to be strong enough it doesn't want looting. And keep in mind that looting is not card advantage. You lose a card from your hand to cast it, and then you draw 2, discard 2. So you go down a card overall. From the graveyard, it is card neutral. And that is one of the upsides to it, of course, is that discarding extra copies of it is value, as well as the cards that you want in the graveyard, say like your Dredge cards, your Vengevines, or your Arc-like Phoenixes. So it's really, I mean, that this is a great card. Right now, graveyard decks have been pretty low. We've pretty much just have the Goryo's Atraxa list, and so I'm really interested to see, hopefully, some other ones pop up. But again, I'm not sure that it's strong enough on its own to enable these decks. But I definitely think we'll see more Persist and Vengeance lists, and I hope to make Hollow One work. We'll see. Next, we'll talk about Green Sun Zenith. It hasn't been around for a long time, so some of you probably don't even know it who don't play EDH, but it's essentially a sorcery speed Court of Calling without Convoke that only gets green creatures. So yeah, it's a tutor for a green creature, but it puts it directly on the battlefield. It cares about CMC, and it shuffles itself back into the library. I forgot about Dryad Arbor. I want to get that, of course, talking about this card. Dryad Arbor, of course, is a... does it count as a green creature? Yes, it is green. That's what they put that little dot there. I was like, I remember being able to get it, but now I'm not sure. But yes, you can get this with Green Sun Zenith. So I think the immediate, like, where does Green Sun Zenith fit? People think of Yawgmoth. I think that makes sense. I'm not sure if it's better or goes alongside Cord. I put Court of Calling in here because I feel like a lot of decks playing Green Sun Zeniths are also going to play Court of Calling. We're probably going to see both in combination. Oh, it did pop up there. Wall of Roots becomes one of the best enablers now. The other deck that it just kind of slots into is Amulet of Vigor. It acts as a, instead of Summoner's Pact, which sometimes can be a liability, Green Sun Zenith gives you, it's a more mana intensive way, but another way to get Titans, but it can also go get the Dryad when you need it, or it can even get the, what's the dude with Reach who drops a land, the 1-drop. I'm blanking on him right now, but anyways, can get that card as well. I put Oof in here because any green card that's like a value or an interactive card, right? The Hate Bears that are green are all going to go up in value because of Green Sun Zenith. Right? Playing one Collector's Oof when there's Mox Opal decks in the format and you can get it with Green Sun Zenith is very easy. It might still stay in the sideboard, but you might see cards like Oof end up in the main board. Eternal Witness also goes up in value, right? Being able to then pick up something like a Court of Calling or a creature that's died, right? It gives you more value. Craterhoof Behemoth, I think, will go up in stock and is already going up. It is a very powerful card in Modern, and being able to fetch it up is very powerful. So I think that is that's about it. The green decks, right? I think that Devoted Druid combo might end up coming back. I've always wanted to make a Prime Speaker deck work. The issue with Prime Speaker is that she doesn't have haste, and so Green Sun Zenith thing for her doesn't necessarily add. But I think this still adds to consistency of a green creature-based combo deck. The biggest one, the other big deck that people are going to try to make work, and including myself, is going to be Elves decks. I love Elves. Green Sun Zenith is a little better than Cord and Elf. A little better. I think it is just strictly better. Cord being instant speed is powerful, but its cost is so much higher. Green Sun Zenith, because Heritage Druid specifically is like the best elf in Elves and only has a 1 CMC. This can be Heritage Druid, 7 through 8 and it only costs 2 mana, that is just very strong. And then on top of the fact that now we have 2 mana lords and 2 mana draw engines in elves, means that I think we might see elf combo decks. I've actually been working on an elf combo deck list before this was unbanned. So I think that definitely adds to the consistency of that. But again, there might be decks that I haven't even thought of or don't exist yet. But this makes any green creature have a little more stock. So look out for those. Mox Opal Unbanned, I think this is probably the one that people are going to be the most surprised about. Looting, although adding consistency, wasn't ever really what broke anything. It was the powerful cards they were printing that broke looting. And looting was just an enabler that they decided to get rid of. The Green Sun Zenith was banned way before we really had any sort of balanced format, so that is like surprising, but it's not that crazy. But Mox Opal is probably the one that people are going to be, if they're going to be upset about anything or think it's really crazy, Opal is the one. It enables a lot of different things, and in some ways it makes every artifact in Modern better. But we'll talk about a few things. One is the Faith Reward, Brilliant Restoration, Open the Vaults. Cheerio strategies might show up. Strategies where we're playing a bunch of 0-drop artifacts, we're sacrificing them all, we're tapping our opals, we're cycling through, every time we cast one, we're drawing cards, we're cycling through a whole deck, we're tapping 4 opals for white, and then we're faith rewarding them all back, and then we're, winning with something like Athasa's Oracle. Those strategies are likely going to be tried, and they might end up being good. Ancient Stirrings goes up in stock hugely. Any cheap artifact goes up in stock. Expect your Mishra's Baubles to go up, as well as your Memnites and your Ornithopters, of course. Cranial plating, right? Just affinity-based strategies. Frogmite I put in here, right? Thought Monitor. They just get so much more consistent and powerful. Artifact lands will become more powerful. All the bridges, as well as don't forget about Treasure Vault, I believe it's called. Yeah, because it's an artifact land that enters untapped, which is a big deal. And so there's a lot of different ways to go. I think that Urza, Saga, and Urza are probably going to be a part of a lot of them. I put Spire of Industry, right? Glimmer Void. Remember about these lands that make rainbow colors when you have any artifact. The artifact lands. Kappa Cannoneer is another one that's like a very strong card that we haven't seen a ton of, that Mox Opal just makes way more easy to do. Don't forget about Lantern. Lantern players rejoicing. Mox Opal not only empties your hand faster, both by giving you more mana and by being a 0-drop, which makes your ensnaring bridges faster and easier, right? Turn 2 bridges are way more possible and powerful when you have Mox Opals. It also just means that playing discard spells or removal spells, whatever, extirpates and thought seizes and stuff, right, is also just easier, because you want to play Urza Saga on that deck, and Mox Opal just fixes things, and you can get Mox Opal with Saga. It's just, be wary. Lantern might end up being one of the best control decks again, which is why Besaju's over here for all the green decks. Ancient Stirrings obviously finds Opal and all the things that are good with Opal. I love this version of Memnite. Not a lot to say here. I think, like I said, there's a couple different. There's either like the aggressive affinity lists. There's kind of the Urza that could be Thopter combo lists, or just Urza value lists. There's the combo lists, right, that are all in, and then there's the Lantern control or prison lists that are all excited to have Opal. That's why it's going to probably be the most expensive card in Modern pretty quickly. Splinter Twin, this is one that, not so surprising. People have been calling for Unbanned for a while. It's not really surprising, and it's not really that exciting. Some people are excited. People who love Twin are excited, and good for them. I don't have a lot over here to say, because I don't think it changes the format, really. I think people want to play it because they remember it being good. I don't know that it's going to be that great. Counterspell is the main difference between when we had Twin before and now. Obviously, there's some other powerful, Consign to Memory is powerful, and in blue, there's other powerful cards. But, like, Lightning Bolt remains one of the best removal spells if you're in straight blue-red. I wouldn't be surprised to see Twin List be 5-color for Leyline Binding. And probably are going to play Teferi. I don't think they can afford to just play straight blue-red, but if they are, expect your Deceiver Exarchs and your Pestermites. Probably not Pestermites because we're going to Orcish Bowmasters is going to become one of the premium black spells in the format yet again. I think that Wizards thinks that banning Ring makes Orcish Bowmasters worse, but it doesn't, and I don't think they understand that. But it is what it is. Expect to see this list. There will be different builds. There will probably be Jeskai builds because Bolt isn't a premium removal spell anymore, so they'll want Path to Exile. There'll be Grixis builds playing Fatal Push. And like I said, I wouldn't be surprised to see the best build end up being 4 or 5 color for Leyline Binding and Prismatic Endings. There is the possibility that Twin ends up getting comboed with maybe like an Omnath deck, right? And just kind of slots in. But it does have a cost, right? To play this card plus one of the cards that work with it, like Deceiver Exarch, you're eating up like 8 cards in a deck. So I don't know. I don't know that they need the combo finish. I think people will try to make it work, but I don't expect it to be a huge presence. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's the worst take I have here. I think that these other cards are stronger, more powerful, and the decks that they enable are more interesting. But I think there are people who are very interested in playing Twin. If you are following because you're a Blue Belcher player, I do think that Blue Belcher remains good. I think while people are testing all these decks, having cheap and free counter magic is really good against combo decks. The ones that are probably the most concerning are Dredge, which is historically very good against counter magic because it doesn't care about things going to the graveyard, and Lantern. Well, I guess Urza Saga decks, and there's going to be a lot of them. Saga is essentially an uncounterable way that people can get a Pithing Needle that turns off Belcher, and then you have to find a way to bounce that Pithing Needle. So that's the one thing where Blue Belcher might have to pivot and have some sort of alt win con that isn't needleable. But I think that on average it's going to be very good as people are testing Green Sun Zenith and Faithless Looting and Splinter Twin lists especially. And then the Boros Energy will still be out there, but they won't have the inevitability of Ring, and I think their best starts are still their best starts though, so that will still be one of the boogeymen of the format. Hope you enjoyed the video. Have a fantastic day. Leave comments. Let me know other cards you think or strategies that you're excited to play.